For this reaction video, I'm going to be taking a look at some really dumb causes of death that I personally have not seen yet. Now, I certainly already seen plenty of them in advance before now, and so, well, I suppose it's pretty needless to say a lot of things when you know a lot of common sense, don't you know? And I'm going to be doing that by watching those Darwin Award winners on my my big screen TV with a from within a YouTube app. No doubt about it, Darwin Award winners like these are pretty hard to resist, aren't they? Okay, well, here goes.
Now, you'd think after part 13 of this series, we'd be running low on accounts of people who embarrassingly removed themselves from the gene pool.
Nope.
And yet, unbelievably, here I am again with even more stories of idiots that ended themselves in the dumbest ways possible. From attempting to French kiss a rattlesnake to laughing in the face of gun safety, here's part 14 of our never-ending Darwin Awards.
Yep.
Butt of the joke.
Butt of the joke.
I don't often get... He'd gone rifling through his grandmother's possessions and found an M80 explosive, an American class of very large firecracker containing some 80 grams of flash powder.
Oh, man.
Used by the U.S. military to simulate grenade explosions, but they were banned for sale in 1966 by the Child Protection Act. And we're about to find out why.
I bet.
Taken the firecracker up to his room and, in a stunningly stupid move, began to repeatedly light and extinguish the fuse. However, during one of these insane cycles, he lit it up and couldn't put it out. Instead of throwing the explosive out of a window or as far away as possible, he instead jammed the thing between his thighs and put his hands over it to muffle the sound of the explosion. Big mistake. The resulting blast cost him his right hand, right leg, and most of his junk. While he survived, he lost the ability to reproduce and thus removed any future DNA of his from the gene pool. Ha! I think I just saw Darwin give this story a thumbs up from his grave.
Yeah. Wow.
Up in flames.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but anything inappropriate like that, I don't know, just makes me feel that hilarious feeling sort of mood.
While he survived, he lost the ability to reproduce and thus removed any future DNA of his from the gene pool.
Wow.
Give this story a thumbs up. There are some jobs that are obviously a little more dangerous than others. And back in 1819, no one had a riskier or more fantastical job than Sophie Blanchard. She would ascend in a chair attached to hydrogen balloons to entertain huge crowds of people below her. Well, this was a time before the internet. I guess the French had very limited entertainment options. Sophie would regularly perform in the Tivoli Gardens, sometimes using pyrotechnics.
Oh, man. Hydrogen in that's gotta be bad.
The problem is that hydrogen is incredibly flammable.
Yep.
People knew this, regularly warning Sophie about the danger of using pyrotechnics in her shows. But Sophie would not be deterred. And so on the...
And here comes the winner.
The gusty day, Sophie ascended. She struck up her fiery display and waved down to the crowds when, all of a sudden, her balloon caught alight. The fire spread quickly, Hindenburg style, and she began to descend rapidly. She seemed calm, but then the wind caught her draft, blowing it out of
oxygen
and into the side of several nearby buildings, which is when she fell fatally. Not exactly the blaze of glory she was aiming for, I bet. Can it? It's not often that you guys send me your own stories for this series. Unlike a toboggan track, a road has cars, which Collie's neighbor quickly discovered. Their trash can soon collided with an oncoming car and was yeeted into the side of someone's house. They didn't survive, but they did prove that sometimes the trash takes itself out.
Yes.
Award-winning stories of your own? Let me know down below, or if it's a bit linked. Bearing all.
Oh boy.
I live my life by a few very simple rules, and one of those is not to make any big...
I have already seen pretty good demonstrations of animal encounters on Animal Planet, just so you guys will know.
One evening during the Belgrade Beer Festival, this guy, who was assumed to be absolutely wasted, proceeded to head over to the Belgrade Zoo, broke in, stripped down, until he
stripped down, man.
The bear enclosure. Okay. I can understand being drunk enough to text your ex or drunk enough to order $100 of fast food, but this is another level of drunk. and one that didn't last long. The bears, Masha and Misha, wasted no time making a meal of the idiot, and it was only in the morning that the zookeepers discovered him. Half-eaten and wholly dead. They figured that he must have been under the influence because, in their words, only an idiot would walk into the bear enclosure. Well, stuff can be two things. What's to say this guy wasn't drunk and an idiot? Good boy.
Oh
Back
boy.
in 2002, on the 29th late that evening, a deputy of the local administration board had been out walking his dog when he encountered a young police cadet. The cadet was escorting two women home.
Does he have a grenade with him?
A muzzle. So doing his duty, the cadet informed the deputy that what he was doing was illegal. Things were getting tense, but the situation really escalated when the deputy suddenly revealed he had an RGD-5 grenade.
Yep. Jeez, no. Grenades. Anything involving grenades. Such a big no-no.
But because his dog wasn't on a lead or wearing a muzzle, the deputy's faithful four-legged friend ran to retrieve the grenade like a ball and brought it right back to him.
Oh, God, no.
Man, that's rough.
Rough. So rough, like...
Rather than just stealing cars and abandoning them when they were reported stolen, one car thief in Pittsburgh would also set fire to them, reasoning that this helped the owners claim insurance. But this...
Yeah, I've heard something like that before, like in a previous BMA's video. Must be a repeat of history or something, like how I noticed that it was with a priest trying to handle a crocodile-infested river.
You're out of your mind.
However, he didn't know that the door handle on the driver's side of the cab was broken, so when he tried to get out, he quickly discovered he was trapped. Idiot confinement. We all know at least one person who just cannot live without attention. Aside from being impossible to satisfy, they often don't know when to stop, much like this next award winner. Back in 2015, a Croatian...
That kind of makes me think about a high school classmate I once knew who was handicapped, and he kind of tried to get some attention every once in a while just by throwing things at people. I mean, not all the time, but yeah, like he did every once in a while, and the teachers would be like, "You have to say sorry to your victim."
Criminal who'd been jailed for repeatedly threatening his ex-girlfriend was put in the prison's solitary confinement section for bad behavior. Not a fan of his new padded pad, he decided to force the guards to pay attention to him by pulling out a lighter he'd smuggled in and setting fire to the cushion pads lining the walls, ceiling, and floors. He expected the guards to come back to get him out immediately, but 20 seconds later, no one was coming. 40 seconds later, he was still on his own, and the fire was growing. After a minute, he began to panic as the room was starting to fill with smoke and flames. All too late, he realized he'd set fire to a room that was completely flammable, and the guards simply wouldn't notice in time. Well, that's one way to serve a life sentence.
Yep.
Man versus tree. Back in 2004, police were called to the scene of an accident around the back of a house in Georgia, USA, that left them, in a word, stumped. A large tree
Stumped.
on top of a truck, both of which were charred and smoldering. It appeared that the gentleman behind the wheel of the truck had been attempting to remove the tree from the yard by tying the truck to the tree and flooring it. He'd assumed the tree would use some sort of cartoon physics and fall away from the truck. Applied force and landed on top of the truck, crushing the driver. The engine overheated, setting both the truck and tree ablaze, and the rest is Darwin Award-winning history.
Yep.
Getting shredded.
Hiring a tree surgeon to trim back
Or cut down your trees can be expensive, but doing the work yourself can end up costing even more, as one man found out.
That looks like it's gonna be sick.
instead of paying
Oh man, it looks like it's gonna be sick.
an industrial tree shredder.
And placed it at the base of an old oak tree in his yard, which had recently been struck by lightning. He was planning on cutting away the dead section of the tree himself by climbing up and trimming it away, dropping any stray branches down.
No, don't do it above the shredder.
Thing was, he had
And used harnesses, safety equipment, or, well, anything to secure himself to the tree. So entirely unsecured, he clambered up the ladder, stepped out onto a branch, and began cutting away when suddenly he lost his footing.
and fell straight into the shredder.
That did not happen.
Well, on the plus side,
And I bet he made for a very moist mulch. According to witnesses, 3 regular frenemies were drinking heavily at a cafe and exchanging insults with one another when one of them, clearly disgruntled, suddenly pulled out a Claymore landmine.
and threw it under the door.
Landmine.
He drank it late.
No. So it always, that's how it always is. Like, there's always a humiliating and tragic poor decision when it comes to explosives, aside from guns, you know.
Leveled crossing.
April 15th
Oh boy.
is a pretty
We got a
important date
train in
in
the
the
making,
calendar.
like,
Why? Because that's the most
In an attempt to avoid this, he
important.
here we go.
fled over the crossing just before the train reached it. But as he did so, crash! Another car raced,
Oh, God.
was
also trying to beat the train, and the
too collided.
one driver perished and the other was wounded, but by some cosmic miracle, the crash occurred just to the side of the tracks, so the train passed by unimpeded, and no passengers.
Yeah, thank goodness. Oh. Thank goodness for the train. But, yep. 2 idiots combined.
Getting airtime.
Airtime.
If you've
Ever been to Holiday World and Splash and Safari in Indiana, USA? Then you probably know the.
This one involving an amusement park. This is gonna be good.
However, back in 2003, one
woman
Oh.
made a super
extremely dumb decision in a bid to really get her adrenaline pumping. She wanted to stand up as the coaster went down the drops in a bid to catch what roller coaster enthusiasts
You can't have that urge to do that without being drunk or high, right?
lost her footing and was sent tumbling over the edge.
edge to
Bye-bye.
demise.
Gee, it's almost like the safety restraints were there for a reason.
Yeah.
The owner tried to take it away, but the dog refused to give up its bone. Frustrated, the hunter began
Uh-oh.
to wield a shotgun like a club, swinging the butt of it at the dog.
Don't do it in your face. Don't point it in your face.
That was
Until this idiot slammed the butt of the shotgun into the ground. The shock triggered the gun to fire.
with the muzzle pointed directly at his stomach.
Oh, his
Husband was
stomach.
airlifted to the hospital,
Ouch.
didn't make it.
Though he did live just long enough to confirm this account to the police. Midnight Mess. North Carolina is an American state that allows a lot of different types of gun ownership. And while most people are careful with the way they use, handle, and store their guns, that can't be said for everyone. Back in December 1992, during the very early hours, a man in the town of Newton was woken by the sound of the landline telephone ringing next to his bed. Sleepily, in the darkness, he grabbed the phone and put it to his ear. Only it wasn't the phone.
Oh no!
Left on his bedside table. For some reason, this
No.
incredibly
Sloppy gun owner had left his handgun there with the safety off, and when he brought it up to his ear, accidentally pushing the
trigger
Ugh,
process.
boom
Oops!
With firearms lying around.
with the safety off. Unless you too want your gun to double up as the world's worst alarm clock.
Don't even mention it. Come on. Oh, God. Oh. Seriously. How drunk do you have to be to make that happen? Combined with your sleepiness. I mean, is just plain sleepiness a good excuse on its own? Like without the drunkenness?
Honorable mention, French hiss.
French hiss, yep. Here we go. Don't forget, I've seen some good demonstrations of animal encounters on Animal Planet, some including rattlesnakes.
I'm not sure what he thought was going to happen, but as he puckered up for a big open-mouthed snaky smooch, the rattlesnake did what you'd expect it to.
Yep.
Yeah.
On the tongue.
Rattlesnake
Venom is nasty, and in the right doses it can cause numbness, swelling, nausea, difficulty breathing.
I know. Oh, and on the tongue too. Oh, God.
Miraculously, he survived, so sadly no Darwin Award today.
What?
But with any luck, this taught our resident idiot a thing or two about not forcing himself on deadly animals. Consent is key, my dude. High life. Helium can be hilarious. Because the gas is 6 times less dense than air, sound waves travel through it much quicker. So if you inhale it, your voice sounds much higher.
I see now. I'd be glad to try that someday, like, because I never did.
I could listen to this forever. But helium shouldn't be inhaled for too long, because even though it's a gas, you still need oxygen to breathe, which is a very basic science lesson that these 2 next award winners apparently missed out on. You see, when our lungs are filled with helium, it means we're not filling them with oxygen, which our organs rely on. Depending on how much helium is inhaled, a person can lose consciousness quickly and die from lack of oxygen, also known as asphyxiation, which is exactly what happened.
Here we go.
Consciousness and were only found the next morning when a local sheriff spotted the bottom halves of their bodies sticking out from the deflated balloon. Well, at least they ended on a high.
Yeah, they did.
A burning problem. And so they started up a dangerous habit of using gasoline to light fires in vacant houses in a rural part of Chattanooga. They'd then rush in, put out the blaze, and pretend to be heroes. But this incredibly dangerous ruse all fell apart one day when one of them, who was spreading gasoline in the attic, didn't realize the
Well, there are much better ways to practice, isn't there?
The 6 accomplices faced a combined total of 60 years in prison. The front right seat was in a fully reclined position, neither pilot was wearing their seatbelt, and both were only partially clothed. Further examination revealed no rips or tears to any zippers or buttons, so yep, our criminal had also managed to miss the police car parked outside the store. Firearms and let loose on the robber.
Another good addition to a series like this. Well, this has been another good series of good responses and whatnot in between. The dumbest, I think, as far as now, is perhaps the I can think of is the women on the roller coaster. Like, there's literally, I just can't think of any excuse to do what she did other than being drunk or high. And you know, when it comes to robberies, there's just so much mixed emotions on, 'cause you know, the robbery itself is dumb, just dumb on its own, and then sometimes it's just dumber than necessary. Well, thanks for watching, and get dumb, but not too dumb, okay?